News Now. Hello, welcome to Nerd News Now. Oh, it's just me and Kyle, I guess. We survived Thanksgiving.
I don't know that that's true, but okay.
You don't know that we survived it?
Right. I don't think I did. I think I died somewhere the night before Thanksgiving.
Oh, so this is like some weird tryptophan coma?
Yeah, I think this is just the ghost of, or my spirit energy is so strong that I have refused to leave this world and am still
Yeah.
corporeal. Yeah.
Okay. Does that mean you had a rough Thanksgiving or just regular?
Uh yes.
Yeah, I know. Like even regular ones are rough because there's just so much going on all the time, and
Well,
none
we
of
have
us got ice cream turkey cake. So
like in my family, one, we cater so many people's Thanksgivings.
hmm
But then we also have 4 children under the age of 3. And so it's this never ending someone's screaming, someone's pooping, someone's trying to break something. And that's just my aunts and uncles.
right.
Like, take the kids out of it and it's still that. So I know I'm gonna say something that's a little controversial. I love my nephew more than anything. My cousin's kids are great. I hate holidays with my family. Because I want to eat and take a nap. Or I want to eat and watch a football game. I don't
Yeah.
want to eat and then have to hear you talk about, well, my kid is crawling and they're only 6 months old. And I don't give a crap. Your child is not special. So, and then after everybody leaves, you have to hear like the people who are your family complain about the parenting of every other parent that was there.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you know what? I want to watch A Christmas Story Christmas. Can you shut the hell up?
Oh yeah, I still haven't got to watch that yet.
I watched that and I watched the Will Ferrell, uh, Ryan Reynolds Spirited. And I also saw Violent Night. I saw a preview of Violent Night.
Now you were you were pretty high on Spirited as far as
I was
what you
correct.
thought it might be. You were correct?
Yes.
Okay. So recommend.
Let's put it this
That's a
way. You know how everybody
recommendation.
has their celebrity list?
Yeah.
Like, I'm a straight man, but Ryan Reynolds is Ryan Reynolds, right? Will Ferrell somehow made that list.
Okay.
Because I honestly believe that if I was in a relationship with Will Ferrell, I would die so fast from asphyxiation from laughing
hmm
that I would just be dead. Like, that movie was hysterical. And it was movie, the music was good and the message was good, and it was a good holiday movie. A Christmas Story Christmas was a good holiday movie. I'm not sure I would call Violent Night a holiday movie.
Right. But like in the same way that some people don't regard Die Hard as a holiday movie.
No, that's not what I mean.
Oh, okay.
Die Hard is a holiday movie because it's set at the holidays.
Well,
Uh, yes,
isn't
Violent Night
violent?
is, but you could place it any other time of the year. Same movie.
Okay.
Like the fact that he's wearing a Santa suit is only because of the time of year they set it in. It's not necessary.
I didn't get to watch any of the stuff I meant to watch, but I started watching 1899 on Netflix, which was made by the same creative team as Dark. Um, so that's a trip. And then Bumper in Berlin. I watched the whole thing already.
I have no
He
idea what either
spent
of those things are.
well, like I said, 1899 is a sci-fi mystery suspense from the creative team that brought to Netflix a few years ago the also sci-fi, thriller, horror, suspense, German drama, Dark. And then Bumper in Berlin is the spin-off of the Pitch Perfect series, but in TV show form.
Never saw Pitch Perfect,
Okay.
and basically don't have a Netflix login anymore.
Well, Pitch Perfect's on Peacock,
Sure.
but
But like,
you
I
haven't
have
seen
no
it yet.
interest in seeing like, here's my problem, right? You know what I watched I watched one new thing. But HLN had a West Wing marathon on. I
Okay.
watched that. Um, I have started watching Tulsa King.
Me too.
That's the only new thing I'm watching.
So,
That isn't a movie. Like, and those movies, I'm good if I don't see them again.
since you already delved into controversy, here's one for you: is Sylvester Stallone a good actor?
Yes. However, he's a good actor in the same way James Caan is a good actor. They have a couple of speeds, and if you get them outside of those speeds, it's awkward. But when they do it better than anybody. Prime example, Robert Duvall. Right? Like, great actor if he's in this very specific lane. But when you get him outside of that, he's a little iffy. So I would say Sylvester Stallone, yes, is a good actor.
And the reason I bring that up is because I'm 2 episodes into Tulsa King. I was probably more excited to see Martin star in like a 1 hour long drama than anything. But uh, I enjoy the show. I like stuff that's based in that gangster world, and um, it's interesting enough to keep me watching it. But the voiceover stuff was pretty. That's not his speed.
I didn't have a problem with it in this particular thing.
Okay, like kind of the setup of it all.
Yeah, because it's like, okay, I understand that maybe this is something like he's writing a letter, or we're understanding this is a story that's being told to us by someone, which is fine. I have a problem with that. My problem with Sylvester Stallone in that role and in that voiceover thing is that it's the long running joke I've been making. Sylvester Stallone shows up in Guardians of the Galaxy, and his most memorable line is right, and the line is, "This place is the wrong kind of disreputable." But you can't give Sylvester Stallone that many syllables. So I like it. I think it's good. I think the voiceover is fine. I think it's a very fine line they have to walk.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hopefully it just hopefully there's enough going on in that world to keep it sustainable. I mean, at least to hold the interest through a 10 episode season one.
Right.
We'll see though, but they have seemed to have found they being Paramount network, they've seemed to found a niche of those. Let's get this uh silver screen icon and put him in a drama, and people will love it because it's the same thing with like Kevin Costner
Well,
and Yellowstone.
that's that Taylor Sheridan universe, right?
Yeah,
Like, Taylor Sheridan is for Paramount CBS what the woman who wrote Scandal was for ABC. Can't
right.
think of her name right now. Like, that's their golden goose. But I think I don't know if it's a good show yet or not, but it plays into things that I like. And so I will forgive a lot of badness.
But I do need more Martin Starr at some point, or I need him to be more Martin Starry.
He already is monotone and not really doing anything. Standing there going, "Do I have any choice?"
Yeah.
You know, but like, here, I'll give you a prime example of what Tulsa King has going for it. I find myself rewatching the early 2000s NBC hit drama Las Vegas.
Okay.
That show is terrible.
Oh, is that the
Gary,
comment you made about someone getting blown off the roof or whatever?
yes.
Okay.
Gary Scott Thompson, who created the show and ran the show. It's a casino in Vegas where every week someone gets murdered and every week the casino gets robbed. Basically. And the premise of the show, the pitch had to be, okay, we're going to get James Caan to play an ex-CIA agent who's kind of a mobster who runs the casino. And they're like, great. Well, what about the supporting cast? All right, we're going to go out and get the most beautiful people we can find on the planet and write really thin plot lines for all of them. And that was the show.
Yeah.
Like, because you had Nikki Cox and Molly Sims and Vanessa Marcel, who were all smoking hot. And then you had Josh Duhamel and James LeJour, who were pretty good looking dudes, and no character development. Like, James LeJour's character was Gladys Knight's nephew. Like, that's the whole of his character development. Like, really, bro? But the show hits all of the things I like. It's got action, it's got drama, it's got comedy, it's got gambling, it's got mobsters, it's got explosions. Well, I don't really need a whole lot more. You know, it's got
Now,
Wolfgang Puck cameos.
is the comedy from a place of comedy or from a place of bad writing?
No, it's got comedy in that, like, that thing where somebody would have a witty comeback just in real life.
Okay.
They have a witty comeback in this show. You know. But it's a bad show. That doesn't mean I won't watch every episode every time it's on.
What does that even come on? Like, what? Well, how did you re-stumble across that?
It's on from midnight to 3 a.m. on Cozy TV.
What is Cozy TV? Is that like Me TV?
It's like
Sort of
TV Land, but newer somehow, but also not.
Okay.
Like, it's like Little House on the Prairie and Emergency 51, and like as the day goes on, the shows get newer. So like after Las Vegas, it's Third Rock from the Sun, and then it resets to like old shows, and then like it progressively gets newer. Like, it's Emergency is on, and then it's Monk, and then it's Bones, and then it's Roseanne, and then it's The Nanny, and you know, like, it's this really weird channel. But I'll tell you this, they have interesting shows on in the middle of the night, which is all I can ask.
Television programming fascinates me, and not like not like the historical, like Thursday night on NBC in the 80s and 90s, but like that the late night, just sort of local syndicated type
Right.
stuff, because I would love to know what they have to pull from versus what makes it onto the air in those
Well, and
randomized
like
spots.
weekends, it's like Columbo marathons,
Mm-hmm.
or it'll be Columbo and McClintock, or it'll be it's like mysteries on the weekend. But then, yeah, every night at 3 a.m., it's Third Rock from the Sun. So if you need your fix of John Lithgow and French Stewart,
I do.
3 a.m. in the morning, you can watch it.
That was a great cast.
Really was.
Really, like especially not knowing what Joseph Gordon-Levitt was going to become, but uh, everyone else, yeah.
I was watching something, and the voiceover comes on, and I'm going, "Who is that voiceover? What is that voiceover? Why is that voiceover?" And it's French Stewart. I'm going, "This is a strange choice for a voiceover." But I'm super glad it's not Patrick Warburton, which is it's like I felt like they wanted Patrick Warburton and couldn't get him, and so they called Dietrich Bader, and we're like, we also can't get Dietrich Bader, so let's get French Stewart. Like,
But do you remember what that was for?
I don't.
The last thing I remember seeing him in, I think, is I know there's been something since this, but uh, on Mom, Anna Faris at one point worked in the kitchen, and
Right,
he was like the head chef of that, or line chef, or whatever you call it, of that kitchen. He's
right,
just the Henri boss. And I was just like, well, this is really random. I just feel like anytime you see him, it's just like, well, this is a really random choice.
right. No, that's what I'm saying.
Mm.
I'm going through his IMDb,
Oh, and
and
I guess I'm just now putting together that there were two actors from Third Rock from the Sun on Mom.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, wasn't it all produced by the same people?
probably.
Yeah.
But there was no aliens or John Lithgow, so.
Oh, it was a Penguins of Madagascar thing.
Oh, okay. Like the actual TV series.
I was watching it on YouTube. I don't know if it was part of the TV series
Oh,
or
okay.
if it was a short or what it was. But I had a 2-year-old who I had to get to sit down and shut up.
And Penguins of Madagascar did it, huh?
Yes. Well,
I
he'll
mean,
watch anything animated because his parents don't let him watch TV.
oh, okay.
So I literally could just throw any cartoon on, and he's just like, oh. So
I mean, probably better option than reruns of Las Vegas, I guess.
it's true.
I mean, for that age, maybe not for you.
Yeah. I don't know. We can get behind some Thomas and Friends.
Yeah,
So
Trains with Faces.
yep.
It's a little weird, but I guess it's worked all these years, so why not?
Right.
Do you still read comic strips in the newspaper?
My newspaper. How do I put this? There is no newspaper here.
Okay.
There is one, but it gets published 2 days a week, and you have to pay extra to have it delivered to your house. Like you have to pay for your subscription and then go pick it up.
Wow, that's odd.
I'll give you some indication as to why the newspaper in my town works the way it works. The owner of the newspaper also owns the Pittsburgh Post Gazette, which is a newspaper that has had long problems with the unions. The people who work for the Pittsburgh Post Gazette have tried to unionize multiple times, and the family who owns them have blocked every attempt they've had. They've spent millions of dollars on union busting lawyers and all kinds of stuff. They're also red hats, just to throw that out there.
Ooh.
Anyway, the owner of our local newspaper got married, and the people who want to unionize protested his wedding, which is, solidarity forever, but that's kind of a dick move. Right? Like, I'm pro union, but like, the man's getting married. Like, protest his honeymoon, fine. Don't protest. Like, let him get married in peace and then protest the honeymoon. Anyway, so he runs into the lead organizer at a rest stop on the Ohio Turnpike, buys a bag of Burger King, and then hits the union protester with the Burger King bag.
Okay.
This is literally, when you think of robber baron newspaper owners from cartoons. It's like these guys watched them and was like, okay, that's how we'll run our business. Right? Like it's like they thought, oh, that's a good idea. We'll do that. So, needless to say, our newspaper is a sham.
Okay. Well, that was a whole roundabout way of me just saying, "Hey, did you see the different cartoonist of comic strips and nationally published newspapers that did a trip with Easter and whatnot in Os's 100th birthday?"
You just broke up super crazy, so I
I don't
didn't
know
hear
how
what you said.
the isn't any more thought and touch. Okay, I'm not hearing anything different. What about now?
No, like it was like you went 8-bit, and then it
Yeah.
was like that thing where you're pretending to be on a phone call with somebody, and you want to get off the phone call. And you're like, but that get back that tunnel. But.
Well, now you just gave away your secrets. I've actually never pretended to do that.
Well, I do it like once a week.
Yeah. All I was saying is that in honor of Charles Schultz's 100th birthday, a lot of cartoonists put Easter eggs in their comic strips over the weekend. So if you read the funny pages, check that out.
Well, it's funny that we don't have, even in the paper that do get published, we don't have a comics page anymore. But Mary Worth was created here.
That's sad. That
like
I mean, not
Alan
that she was creative
Saunders, who
there,
created
but yeah.
right. Alan Saunders, who created Mary Worth, was working at the Toledo Blade when he created her. And so it's like, but we don't have comics anymore. And our political ads are a little bit suspect. Our political cartoons are a little bit suspect.
Okay. Yeah.
So there was actually some nerd news that had happened. And it's not like big nerd news now. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. And that's that James Gunn has come out and clarified what he considers to be the DCU continuity.
Okay.
James Gunn confirms that DCU continuity under the DC Studios will not only include TV and movies, but video games as well. But it won't include everything, just some stuff. The original tweet was, are there plans for the games to be connected to the DCU as well? Mr. Gunn, and his response was yes. Now, there have been other conversations that have been had in a more, well, I should say in a less Twittery forum, where it talks about how the main DCU, DC Studios co-CEO James Gunn confirms the company will continue to make movie and television projects outside DC Universe's main continuity. However, some film and television projects will remain separate. So that's kind of like the Harley Quinn cartoon might not be continuity, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist in the DC. That it shouldn't exist. Same thing with the what's his nuts? The guy who made the Batman.
Oh, Joker?
No, the guy who made the Batman movie.
Oh, like that guy's little universe?
Yeah. So those will still be a thing. And like Peacemaker, which maybe made by James Gunn, shouldn't not exist, but also like, doesn't have to be part of the thing.
So basically, they just get to pick and choose as they see how all this stuff goes along. So it sounds like.
Well, I think what he's going to try and do is kind of do what they did. And this is what I would like to see him do, is kind of do what Disney did with Star Wars, at least from a comic book perspective, which is, okay, none of it's canon. None of the extended universe stuff is canon. And then slowly tie it in. So it's okay, it's not canon, but hey, Tim Zahn, can you write this book? Okay, great. Now, in that book, can you put in some Easter eggs that would lead to making us believe that this other thing you wrote that we said wasn't canon is now canon? So you can say it's back. So I think that's kind of a thing that I think that's kind of where they're going, right? Like, let us build our universe the way we build our universe.
Yeah. I mean, uh, I don't know how to phrase this question really, but do you think, we're in a bubble where we've read the comics and we talk to people who read the comics, but I don't think most people care about how a universe is built. So the fact that he had to come out and clarify that seems to be him doing so for a small percentage of fans, the fan base overall.
Well, I think the problem is in making the assumption that people don't care about how universe is built is the same thing of people not caring how sausage gets made.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't need to know how you make my sausage, but I sure as hell want my sausage to taste right. So I'm interested only in as much as it informs the end result. Right? So him saying that, some things will be canon and some things won't is an important fact that we can go to and say, okay, that explains why this decision gets made. Right? It informs how the end product comes out. And so I've been saying that with James Gunn, I've been taking the whole Bill Parcells analogy. If you want him to cook the dinner, you gotta let him shop for the groceries. You gotta let James Gunn build the universe the way he's gonna build the universe. Otherwise, at the end of the day, you're gonna get something less than what it could have been. So while the average fan doesn't care, the average fan does care about the result. So however you get there is less relevant than the result. But if you don't plan on how you get there, you'll never get your result. Right?
Got it.
I mean, I can make another food analogy if you want, Mark. I mean, I'm real hungry, so I can keep making food analogies.
That's fine.
Okay, you're going to make a stew. You got to plan out what's going in the stew before you make the stew. The people who are coming over your house just care that the stew is good. But, you got to make a plan. Otherwise, what you get is a pot roast.
Right.
So,
and people will definitely complain about Cajun food if the roux wasn't right.
right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. But I mean, if it tastes good, yeah. But that's a whole nother thing. It's just that obviously with the comic book genre stuff, people are going to be a lot more picky just from point A to Z. So maybe they just felt the need to come out and say that. But when you said video games, I was like, wait a minute, there was supposed to be a Suicide Squad video game that looked really good come out 3 years ago. Now the release date's 2023. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah.
I'm not much of a gamer anymore, but I do like good games. So
I've gotten addicted to Marvel Snap.
Oh yeah,
which I was very against when it first came out because I just knew that it would be bad for me.
Mm-hmm.
However, now that I'm playing it, it is very bad for me, but I'm not gonna stop.
That is a mobile game.
Yes, it's like if Magic the Gathering had Marvel characters and the worlds had Marvel locations.
Oh, okay.
And because they're Marvel locations, they have powers. So instead of Zendikar, you're in Wakanda. And because you're in Wakanda, you get +1 power.
Now that depends on what character you're using. Like does it have a range?
No, like
for
the
lands,
characters? Yeah, there's different characters obviously, but the lands all have powers too.
Oh, okay.
So you have to figure out, okay, if I play this character on this land, it gets +1 power. If I play it over here, it has the ability to destroy a character from my opponent's hand. So I got to decide where I want to play that character. So it's like Magic the Gathering with power lands.
Is this a pick it up and put it down type game where you can just play 5 minutes, or is this?
I would. Yeah, you can just play one game, one round, but you can also spend hours. Like, so it is in that. Is it like Candy Crush where you can literally pick it up, pick it up and put it down? No, but you don't have to make a huge time commitment to it. It's definitely one of those games that you can play while you take a crap and then not think about until the next time. Or it's one of those games that you can go in and realize, oh, I've been in here 45 minutes now because I'm playing this stupid game.
And I'm assuming there's in-game purchases too, right?
You know, I only have made one. They
Okay,
don't offer a ton
that's good.
of in-game purchases. Like you can get really far without. But like they had a Black Panther Wakanda Forever season pack that let you get X number of characters, you know, faster and things like that don't actually help you win more, but it helps you to be able to. One of the things you do is as you play, you upgrade your characters. Well, you buy that season pack, not only do you get, like, say, Black Panther and White Tiger, but you get tools to upgrade other characters you have faster. So, like I said, it won't help you win, but it helps you level up.
Okay. I'm terrified of that game. I'll just say
Yeah.
that. I've been sucked into stuff like Marvel Puzzle Quest before, and it doesn't end well.
Yeah.
So,
Like my brother-in-law, like, okay, I'm like a level 175.
uh-huh.
My brother-in-law is like a level 650. He has spent $0.
Wow.
But he also has a toddler who takes a nap. So every day he's putting 3 or 4 hours or into the game while the kid's asleep. Whereas I might play a couple of minutes, a couple of rounds a day. Like, so you get what you put in.
Well, is it also one of those games where it's like if you're a new player, you're just going to get crushed all the time, or is there like
No,
a
because
kind
you
of a
play
tiered
other
system?
players at your level.
Okay.
So like it pairs you with other players at your level. But like, so I'm like a level 175. I might be playing level 200 players. But then it comes down to resource management and playing your cards, right? It's why a really skilled Magic player can still lose to a Magic noob if you get mana screwed or you play a card wrong, right? Like, those things happen.
I was never into Magic. That's just one thing that I skipped over, I guess.
Oh, I
So
was
I
big into Magic.
so I know some of the terms, and I know TCG and but I always like any characters or entities that came out like Transformers or Marvel. I would just collect the
Right.
cards. So I mean, I'm big into collecting, obviously, but from like trading card game perspective, not so much. But yeah, so everything you said about Marvel Snap makes it terrifying to me. I mean, in a good way. I would, but I'm afraid it would be a time suck and or slash money suck because I get frustrated. So,
Like I said, I don't have any like I paid my $15
Mhm.
for my season pass, and I probably won't pay another dime for who knows how long until I beat this season,
Yeah.
right? Which could take a while. So like that's the side effect of that, right? Like your microtransactions are limited, but yeah, it can be really a time suck. So
Oh, and it's actual seasons.
Well, like no, like the season that I'm on is the Black Panther season.
Oh, okay.
Like I bought that season pass. Now when they launch another season, if I've beat the Black Panther, maybe I buy that one. So on and so forth.
And is that almost like equivalent to a story mode? So if you don't buy the season, you're just sort of doing one-on-one battles the whole time? No.
No, but it if you do your just one-on-one battles, you don't buy the season, you get just random characters. But because I bought the season, as I'm getting my random characters, I'm also working towards unlocking. Like right now, I'm working towards unlocking M'Baku. Right, like it gives you a goal. So, like
I'm
you
gonna have
buy
to
it and
check
you
into
immediately
that.
get like White Tiger and Black Panther.
Uh-huh.
But then you work towards goals of unlocking Shuri and other characters from the Black Panther universe.
And is this available on Steam as well, or just like on
I have
phones?
no idea.
No idea.
I don't
They
have
just
anything
use the
that'll run
market.
Steam, bro. Steam has
Okay.
basically locked itself out of the Apple world at this point.
Well, I mean, I thought it. So it doesn't even run on computers, Apple
Oh, you
computers.
can download Steam, but they don't take very good care of it
Oh,
for Apple.
okay. Well, it's just us, so we're allowed to talk about wrestling now,
Okay.
if you want to.
I interviewed Arn Anderson today.
Oh, how'd that go?
Really good. It's funny. And I think it comes from being a fan, the way I've been a fan for a long time. They tell you, oh, Arn's not a big talker. And I go, well, that makes sense. That was kind of always Rick's job, you know?
Yeah.
Like, Arn wasn't a guy who's going to come on and cut a promo. But I was able to get Arn to give a rib to Tony Schiavone. Somebody he's known for a very long time and was friends with. And the questions I asked him, I think, got him to open up. Instead of asking him, so tell me about your time in the Four Horsemen, I asked him about his son, who's, wrestling on AEW Dark and Dark Elevation and things like that. And I asked him what it's like to go from an in-ring performer to like not just a producer and trainer and booker like he has been for a long time, but now to dad. Right. So you're doing that stuff for your own kid. How is it different? What do you think it was about the Horsemen that made them such a prolific tag team? Talk to me about the state of tag team wrestling. Like letting him put FTR over. And then I ask him about the thing that I asked him about that I think really got him going is I remember Lita talking about him and how much he helped her when she was inducted into the Hall of Fame. And that really got him kind of going. But then we talked about his graphic novel, which is available now on Kickstarter, arncomic.com. So,
And was that from the same creative team as the Tony Schiavone one?
same writer,
Same
different
writer. Okay.
artists.
Okay. But kind of
So, like,
same idea, sort of.
no.
No.
So Tony Schiavone's book is just comic book adaptations of events through his life, stories that he's had.
Okay.
The Arn Anderson book is more written from a Arn now telling stories about his life. There are almost no matches in it. And so it's got two different artists, one drawing Arn now, one drawing past Arn. Really kind of interesting concept with a way to tell the stories.
So, like, not it doesn't take out the fact that his life has been built about wrestling, but it doesn't necessarily focus on the wrestling either.
Right. It's not just a panel for panel. Okay, here's this match I had with the Rock and Roll Express. It's here's this story from the road with Tully.
Okay.
Here's this story from the road with Oli. That kind of stuff.
So almost like a Tales from the Territories type stuff.
Having not read it, I don't know. I couldn't say that for sure,
Okay.
but it's more like a memoir than a autobiography.
But it's illustrated.
Yes.
Okay. arncomic.com.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I watched Survivor Series War Games.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Um, you and I are on different wrestling paths, and that's okay. Because I
Well,
think
no.
you know.
I will tell you. I will tell you my impression of that.
Okay.
I thought the concepts and the conceits that they had in the matches they had looked interesting, but I almost immediately recognized that WWE was going to struggle to pull them off in a way that I would find satisfying. And so, with that being said, I watched the pre-show and was pretty quickly frustrated and over it, and said, I'll just watch the things I want to see on YouTube.
Okay.
I also have a tremendous the Ray and Dominic Mysterio storyline. I think could have been good, but it's become poorly executed and problematic.
Were they even on? Were they even on there?
They're on the pre-show.
They're on the pre-show. Okay. I didn't even know that.
Right. So it's the point now where Dominic is showing up to Thanksgiving with Rhea Ripley, like pretending she's his girlfriend, and beating the crap out of Ray at Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Like, I get the whole father versus son. Son's got a bad influence in his ear. The redemption of that relationship story arc. But you have to execute it correctly, and they just haven't.
No. But they have. I don't know what their current roster is, and I don't know if in wrestling if there's ever a rule of thumb like in Major League Baseball. And like just bringing it back to sports, I know okay, there's 53 people on the NFL roster, and yes, you have a taxi squad or whatever they call it nowadays. And then NBA roster, you got 12 plus up to 15 for injuries, and then Major League Baseball 25, and then it's different in September and October for call ups. But wrestling, I have no idea, and it just seems like they've become rebloated again because like I was trying to follow certain wrestlers and factions, and Triple H clearly loves factions, and that's cool. But it's just getting to the point where they blow, they have this faction come up, and then it just goes nowhere. Kind of like you said, because they basically did this thing forever, where it's like, well, now Judgment Day is going to beat anyone they're against because they don't have any female that can fight Rhea Ripley, and then just randomly they add Mia Yim to the roster, but they don't really. It doesn't really go anywhere because then she's immediately put in this 5-on-5 double steel cage match, and that's all I care about now. I don't care about the AJ Styles and whoever those two dudes that he's with are because I'm not really acclimated enough to know if they were supposed to be important or not. And I definitely don't know the history of him and Finn Balor, so I don't care
Right.
about that. I
It's
don't
if
care
you
about
don't
that grudge.
right. That's Triple H trying to do what AEW did more successfully.
Okay.
AEW was really strong in their ability to capitalize on the hardcore smark. Guys who knew what the Good Brothers, or which is what they're called in WWE now, or what some of these guys did in Japan, what wrestlers did at AAA and in Lucha Underground, and in what they're doing when they go and do an NWA show, or their history and impact. Right? People, I see comments all the time about, I remember watching John Moxley fight this guy back in the GCW days. Right? Like it's people who knew who John Moxley was when John Moxley was nobody. Right? So they've done a good job of capitalizing on that and just revitalizing existing feuds. How many people know the Sting and Jeff Jarrett history? But AEW brings in Jeff Jarrett and just throws him with Sting and assumes you know. Right? So I think what WWE is trying to do with some of that is trying to play to that smart crowd. Oh, we brought in this wrestler who you know was on NXT, but who you also know had a history with Rhea Ripley when they were both in the Indies. Well, now you're going to throw them into this match, right? And they're not doing it nearly as well. I also think the problem that WWE has is that they are so beholden to the vanilla ice cream wrestling fan that when they try and break away from that, they got no place to go. Right? They need 8-year-olds to be able to understand their storylines, whereas AEW doesn't seem to care. Right? Like AEW is like, we're going to tell a storyline with the economics of Maxwell Jacob Friedman's contract. An 8-year-old's not going to follow that. You know, we're going to do a storyline where, Max MJF, who is the champ, is going to cause William Regal, who's not even an in-ring performer, to swerve on his faction that he's been leading because of money. Not because they appealed to him, right? You know, like, they do a better job of telling adult stories in a simple way. The prime example, and it's one of the dumbest gimmicks they had, is they have this group called the Acclaimed, who are a tag team who are super over. Their catchphrase is "Scissor me," right? And they started. One of them got hurt, so they started being in a. So the guy, a member of the Acclaimed, was in a 3-person tag with the Gun Club. So Billy Gunn started coming out and being part of this faction. And so the guy would go, "Scissor me, daddy ass." This is after the Ass Boys thing. And they would do it, and it just got so over. And the crowd's chanting and all this kind of stuff. Well, they just spun off.
They have t-shirts now.
Right. They just spun off the Gun Club, and they joined the Stokely Hathaway's group, his faction. And so Billy Gunn still comes out with the Acclaimed. And so there's a story there that they could tell with the Gun Club and Billy Gunn and the Acclaimed. But they do a throwaway story where Smart Mark Sterling filed the trademark on Scissor Me in professional wrestling. So now he owns the trademark on their gimmick. So they had to have a titles versus trademarks match, where if the Acclaimed won, they got their phrase back, and if they lost the tag team titles,
which they won, and the crowd went berserk.
Right. Now that is a rather complex story in terms of.
Oh, and I was gonna say, and Billy Gunn adopted them.
I don't know if that's true.
Or they adopted him. Well, they had the signing. He signed the papers.
Right. Like, it's this whole thing, right?
But Swerve Strickland, like, kidnapped him. They do a lot of kidnappings in wrestling, which is kind of weird.
It's true. But, like, the thing is, your most interesting tag team in AEW right now isn't the tag team champs. It's Swerve and Our Glory, because they're about to break up so that Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee can go and do solo things.
Right.
Well, that's way more interesting there than what's happening with the Acclaimed. So it's this kind of, they're telling these more, I guess, complex stories, and they're targeting the people who know that Swerve Strickland used to be in WWE and used to be in Lucha Underground and had a career in Japan. They're bringing over guys who are like Eddie Kingston doing old road Japanese style matches, super strong style matches. You know, these things that are WWE could never pull off because nobody would understand what the hell is happening. Why have these guys been chopping each other for 12 minutes? Right? And they don't understand that the first one to break is going to lose this match. So it really is about who's tougher, not who's written to win. And so I think that's why the difference is happening. I will say this. If WWE could start over with their roster and just start over without the history of the company, I think WWE would bury everybody. I think their roster is so much more talented, so much stronger. But unfortunately, AEW has the history on its side in terms of, because it has no history, it can pull in whatever it wants.
And understanding and respecting everything that you said, I'm still gonna say my favorite storyline all year from either one is still the Sami Zayn as part of the bloodline.
Well, and that's what I mean by more talented, right? There ain't
Yeah.
there ain't a faction or a guy at AEW who can pull that off, except for maybe Danhausen, who has somehow weaseled his way into the best friends.
Yes.
But not nearly in the same way as Sami Zayn. Like Danhausen just shows up and goes, "I'm part of the team now," and they're like, "Whatever." And Sami Zayn's
Yeah.
like, "No, please let me be in this team." Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's way more interesting in that regard. Like, there ain't anybody who can pull that off at AEW.
And that's the one thing where it's like I'm invested in that storyline only because I want to see when the betrayal comes and who it comes from. Because you have Kevin Owens now cornering him like almost every, weekday episode and saying, they're going to turn on you, so you better turn on them first. And then you have that big moment at the end of the pay-per-view on Saturday where it's like, oh, what's Sami Zayn going to do? And he
Well, and like,
basically just, yeah.
this is how over that gimmick is, right? A podcast asked Rashiki, "Is Sami Zayn an Uso?" And Rikishi was like, "Yes, he's an Uso." Like, was
Yeah.
being into the gimmick. Like, that's how over that story is, and I love it. But I can't stand to watch watered down professional wrestling anymore. I would watch no professional wrestling, or I'd watch Japan only rather than watch WWE.
And is that all around like in-ring action as well as all the stuff you're talking about from a storytelling and utilization of talent perspective?
When I watch professional wrestling, I want to watch wrestling.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch a 45-minute promo with, Roman Reigns. Okay, great. If they want to cut a 5-minute promo with that whole story and then move on to an in-ring thing, fine. I'm here for it. But I don't care to spend the first hour of a 3-hour television show and not see a single bump. Right? Like, that's just
Sure.
watered down. That's a soap opera. And I could watch Young and the Restless. That said, I think if the writing is bad, the wrestling is bad. And that's a thing that you're seeing sometimes in AEW. The writing is sometimes not great. And so it leads to not great wrestling. You can show me all the wrestling you want, but if the wrestling's not good, then it's a problem.
I know I've asked you this before, and this just to wrap up this segment, but is it the writing that is holding back FTR, or is someone else holding back FTR? Like, why? What if everyone that I talk to says, "Oh, FTR's they're the best tag team"? Why aren't they getting featured matches in the pay-per-view? Why aren't they even on the pay-per-view? Why aren't they tag team champions? Like, what's going on? Is
They're
there
not tag team champions because they have to keep going and doing other things.
but is
They
that
hold
solely
so
why?
many titles
Okay.
that, like, to put another title on them would mean there's no other tag team gold to be had by anyone. And the reality of it is, at least in my mind, FTR is so much better than everybody else that there's no one who I think if FDR beats them, I would believe could win the titles off of them.
I
Right?
just
Like
don't.
when
Yeah.
FDR finally drops the ROH tag titles, it's going to have to be because there was some sort of outside interference. There's some sort of thing that causes FTR to lose. Because in a wrestling match, FTR wins every time. Right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's why, is that they've got no one, they're in a class of their own, and there's no one who can match up with them. And at the same time, if FTR comes out every time, no one else can get over. Right? The Acclaimed had to get over and have never really fought FTR. Right? The the best friends have to get over and have never really fought FTR. So it's one of those, is that you save them and then you come back and you let them run through everybody, or you use them all the time and have the thing that makes them great seem less good.
Okay, I was just making sure it wasn't some, secret veteran watcher of wrestling would like kind of what you were talking about before, how they were just throwing FTR in there and Mark's just supposed to know, oh well, this happened 5 years ago, so this is why they can't ever have the titles. It's just a logistical thing which they can't say to break the story or kayfabe or whatever you want to say, but at some
Well,
point
and
they're gonna
it's
have to win the title.
like Dax Harwood's daughter is like going through some serious real life stuff.
Right, yeah.
Like, it's good that they're home.
And they
Right?
do
Like,
actually bring that into the story, but they've never
right.
said, "Oh, we." But and I'm not saying they need to beat me over the head with it, but they've never gone, "Oh well, you guys better be glad we have too much going on outside, or we would win those titles," because they never get the shot.
Right. But like I said, it's one of those, like, it's good that they're home and they can get used when they need them without weakening anything. It's why I think they should use Kenny Omega less.
Well, I know that they were gonna probably have something to do with that trios thing, but the whole CM Punk.
No, they're in that now. Like they're in a best of 7 like thing with the current trios champs.
Oh, I meant FTR.
Oh, yeah, no.
They were gonna they
I
were gonna do something with them in trios, but yeah.
Right. But it's like, I think they should use Kenny Omega less for the same reason. It makes what Kenny does less special when you see him all the time.
He's a good heel though.
Mm-hmm. So, Mark, we talked about wrestling for like almost 20 minutes and we're almost out of time.
We did it. Did you any comics you want to shout out?
There are, but we don't really have time.
Okay.
So go to your local comic shop, buy comics.
That's good enough. And also it's perfect for gift giving. I think one of the best things you can get, like I used to be really against gift cards because I thought it was lazy, right? And I like to give gifts, like personalized gifts. But now I actually really like gift cards because it's less clutter. It's something that the person's actually going to use, and if you find uh, a local business you like to support, it's like a one, like turning people onto a comic book store, or a collectible shop. That's a win, and then supporting that shop in turns a win. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm all about gift cards now. Is what I'm saying.
I can pull it up fast. Thank you for watching Nerd News Now, part of the Kingdom of Geekdom on Woodlands Online, sponsored by the Adventure Begins Comics and Games and Space Cadets Collection. Check out other shows on Woodlands Online, like Weekly Fallout Sports Talk, The Adventure Begins Show, 4 Reels, The Best You, Between the Trees Business Talk, and much more. You can watch all these on Woodlands Online and on our partner station, KVQT HD21, over the air on your television set. All these shows and more on Roku right now. Just search and add Woodlands Online TV to your streaming lineup. You can also listen to the podcast versions of these shows on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and Amazon. So for Mark, I've been Kyle. Miss Jen never showed up. This has been Nerd News Now.